All right, well, I'm back at it again doing weird projects, and I make homemade wine for one of my hobbies, and part of the problem is I need bottles cleaned all the time to put the wine in. So, in order to clean the bottles, I mean, it's tedious. I've got to wash and rinse every bottle, and I decided I want to make a bottle rack that I can mount the bottles on and have water pumped up from underneath with the star sand in it to sanitize the bottles. And so I was considering getting a dishwasher rack, used dishwasher rack to mount this to and wash the bottles. But finding one of those used isn't exactly. You just don't trip on them in your yard, or most of us don't. So I decided to make this rack like this here out of some 3/16 bar stock. I've got 3 of these that are 27.5 inches long, 4 of them are 24 inches long. I've got one 18-inch, and then two 16.5 inches. So the 27.5-inch ones are the length of the grid. The 24-inch ones are going to be the width of the grid, and then the 18-inch is going to make a loop here in the middle for the uprights for those 2 middle bottles, because all the rest are going to be on the perimeter. And then the final two 16.5-inch are going to be legs for the bottom here. I'm just going to have to, now that I've got them all cut to length, I'm going to take them out to my workshop and bend them on the bench vise. I'm going to heat them up. It's freezing cold today. And so I'm going to get the torch out and heat them up, and then bring them back in and bend them, and then bring them back in here to the welder and weld them up. All right, out here in the workshop, it's 40 degrees, no, 14 degrees, something like that, I don't know. And it's blowing snow outside. And what am I doing? Coming out here to play with the torch. This bottle's going to get real cold by the time I get these heated and bent. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. So if you just cold bend these, you tend to get cracks. And so I'm going to heat these up. Hopefully the heat doesn't take off my chocolate marks. It looks like it's leaving them alone. It doesn't take much heat. I just don't want these freezing cold whenever I bend them. Get the mark where it's, I want the bend, I want that mark to be in the middle of the bend. Ooh, that's hot. I guess I'm going to have to do a little bit of hammering here. Now my uprights on these are 7-inch, well, these are the legs, but on the longer ones, the uprights are 7 inches long to give the bottle something to hang on to. Probably ought to heat this up too. That vise will act as a sink to pull all the heat out of these rods if I'm not careful. So. Okay, that can's mostly empty. Good. Here I am playing with the flame with the PB blaster can sitting right there, but the can's empty, so that residue won't be a problem if I catch it on fire, will it? Just some steady pressure with my hand, tap it with the hammer. Get a nice 90-degree bend. Okay, so that one's bent nice, but that one's got a bit of kink to it, so I'm going to hammer that flat. And finish hammering it this way with a little bit of heat. lined up how I want to hammer it. Alright, 2 nice bends for my legs. I may have to do a little bit of unbending here. That's nice. I don't think there's enough propane in this bottle to heat this vise all the way up. But if I can localize the heat before I start hammering, that's what I'm hoping for. I know a lot of guys hate working in hot weather and they prefer the cold weather. I'm the opposite. I'd much rather be doing this in hot weather than cold weather. The main thing being, if I smack my hand right now with something, it's going to hurt like the devil for 10 minutes or so. On a hot day, you smack your knuckles, you don't realize it until your tools are falling out of your hand from all the blood. Get that back up a little bit, turn it, cinch it. It's still not lined up. Every time I tighten this vise up, that thing rolls. There we go. A little bit of perfectionism is not a bad thing. On the other side of it is all these 7-inch pieces here aren't exactly 7 inches. They're all pretty close, but you know, it's not like it's going to be sitting on that. That's just the part that holds the bottle upright. And as one of my mentors used to say, "It's good enough for the girls I go with." Don't let my wife know I said that. Not that I'd go with any other girls than her, but I don't want her taking it personally. It's just a saying. This is probably going to take me a while. I'll check back in here in a few minutes. One of the tips I learned years ago, and I don't know how true it is when you're using a torch, I don't know if you can see the color difference here, but it's a darker blue and orange out here, but it's a very nice light blue there in the middle, and there's that cone. Right at the tip of the cone is where it's hottest. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it's always worked well for me to try to focus that part on whatever I'm trying to heat up. So, quick little tip there on using a torch. So I'm in the process of welding all these up now, taking the little pieces here I've made and set them on here and welding them. I got the little square there to keep these straight and using the magnets to keep it upright. We'll see how it goes. Well, I'm a dork. Didn't even realize that I was double making the end pieces. So, something's going to get nipped off here, but we'll see when I get there. Alright, so here we go. I got space for 12 bottles on this rack now. It's all welded up. It's not like incredibly strong, but I didn't want it to be overbuilt. And I wanted these, I've got some tubing to attach to these, and I want it to be small enough that I can have the tubing and this and fit the bottle down over it. So that's why I used the 3/16 rod instead of something bigger. So here's the bottle rack with some bottles testing it out. You can see they sit down really nicely over these over the posts. I'm going to hang the pump on the side here and have 2 hoses going down, one for pickup, one for return, or one for pushing. Actually, three hoses. Yeah, because I'm going to have one for pickup. I'm going to have one with a shutoff on it that I can pump fluid out with, and then another one going back down, splitting into the lines. It'll wash the bottles out with star sand or whatever I need to. So my next step is to take the bottles off here. I'm going to clean the rack really good and then rub it down with some vegetable oil and bake it in the oven at 500 degrees, and hopefully that'll give it a little bit of corrosion resistance. Alright, so my framework is done. I've got my plumbing tied to it with all my little hoses going up underneath the bottles. I've got my pump here ready to go, but the fittings on it are a little different from what I've got in there. So I've got some PVC ordered here in a couple days. Hopefully I'll get that in and I can finish plumbing this and try it out for the first time. So I got a bunch of PVC fittings today to hopefully finish this, well, get closer to finishing this up. I still need the adapters to go from PVC to those hose ends there. But the tricky ones were these 1/2-inch NPT to go into the pump. And it's all 1/2-inch PVC, got some angles, I've got some splitters, I got a valve so I can shut off the flow and pump this down into a separate container. So I'll start working on getting these together, but it's freezing cold today, and so I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually glue the PVC together. Maybe a little too stinky to do inside. Alright, so here we go. I got the pump mounted. A view here. This is just a pump I got off something years and years ago. It's been sitting in the shop. I've got my drain valve here so I can empty the bucket. So basically, if I want to wash the bottles, shut this valve and it forces all the fluid through this manifold here into those 3 pipes there, and it should come up these little hoses, wash the inside of the bottles, falls right there, and there's the pickup tube bringing it back up into the pump again. And then whenever I get done, if I want to empty it, I just leave the pump running, open that valve there, and it should spit all the water out into a receptacle. This is a 3/4-inch NPT fitting on this. Is the PVC is all 1/2-inch. This is a 3/4-inch pipe thread adapter, and this is a garden hose adapter, so I can run garden hose to to a bucket to catch it. Okay, so here it is all together. I got some bottles loaded up. You can see I can finish these off with some little screw heads here. I drilled a 110,000th hole in the middle of these screw heads. There's a video on that. I'd label it drilling carburetor jets because it's basically the same thing. But the bottles fit down over these, and whenever I turn the pump on, it sprays the bottles from the inside. Just rotate them by hand a little bit, each one, get it rinsed all the way around. And I did 1 cycle with some bleach water. I've done 2 cycles with straight water. I'm going to do 1 more cycle here with straight water, and they should be all cleaned out. So there we go. I think that's a pretty solid proof of concept. It works good. Normally it would take me 2 hours to clean all these bottles. I just clean all of them in about half an hour. So I like it. It's handy, and I think as I get used to it, it'll be a little quicker even.